With Earth's defenses crumbling against a deadly alien race, hope seemed lost. The once united front began to falter as the relentless enemy pushed humanity to the brink of extinction. Cities lay in ruins, and the cries of the desperate echoed through the desolate streets. It seemed that the end was near. But in their darkest hour, an unexpected beacon of hope appeared. The ancient allies, who had once been met with distrust and hostility, returned to stand beside humanity. Their advanced technology and unwavering resolve breathed new life into the battered defenses of Earth. Dr. Laura Simmons and General Marcus Cole found themselves at the heart of this alliance, leading the charge against the invaders. Together, they rallied the remnants of Earth's forces and the ancient allies, preparing for a final, decisive battle. The stage was set for a confrontation that would determine the fate of the planet and test the limits of their resilience and unity. As the Allied forces prepared for the ultimate showdown, the realization set in: this was humanity's last stand. The battle for Earth had reached its climax, and the outcome would shape the future of the planet forever. The once bustling metropolis of New York City now lay in ruins, its iconic skyline reduced to smoldering rubble. The deadly alien race, known as the Ravagers, had descended upon Earth with a ferocity and ruthlessness that left little room for hope. Their dark, sleek ships blotted out the sun, casting an eerie shadow over the devastated landscape. Humanity's last defenses crumbled under the relentless assault, and the cries of the desperate echoed through the desolate streets. In the heart of the chaos, Dr. Laura Simmons and General Marcus Cole worked tirelessly to coordinate what remained of Earth's defenses. Their command center, now a fortified underground bunker, buzzed with activity as military and scientific minds collaborated to find a way to repel the invaders. "We can't hold them off much longer," General Cole said, his voice strained with exhaustion. "Our forces are stretched thin, and the Ravagers are adapting to our strategies faster than we can come up with new ones." Dr. Simmons, her eyes red-rimmed from sleepless nights, nodded in agreement. "We need a miracle, Marcus. Our only hope lies with the Ancients. We have to find a way to contact them." The Ancients, their unexpected allies from the previous conflict, had departed Earth after helping to repel the initial invasion. Despite their advanced technology and strategic prowess, the Ancients had chosen to leave, believing that humanity needed to forge its own path. Now, with the Ravagers threatening to annihilate all life on Earth, Dr. Simmons and General Cole knew that their only chance of survival depended on re-establishing contact with their ancient allies. "Get me a secure line to our deep space communications array," Dr. Simmons ordered, turning to her team of scientists. "We need to send a distress signal and hope that the Ancients hear us." As the team worked to send the signal, the bunker shook with the impact of nearby explosions. The Ravagers were closing in, and time was running out. Dr. Simmons's mind raced with thoughts of the Ancients. She recalled their advanced technology, their wisdom, and their unwavering resolve. If they could reach them, there might still be a chance to turn the tide of the battle. In the war-torn streets above, soldiers fought valiantly to hold the line. Their weapons, a mix of human and ancient technology, were powerful but not enough to stop the relentless onslaught. The Ravagers, with their biotechnological enhancements and fearsome combat prowess, pushed the defenders to the brink of collapse. Amidst the chaos, a young soldier named Private Jake Lawson found himself cut off from his unit. He crouched behind the remnants of a crumbling wall, his heart pounding in his chest. The Ravagers' guttural roars and the screams of the wounded filled the air, creating a symphony of despair. "We need to regroup," Jake muttered to himself, clutching his rifle tightly. "We can't let them break through." His thoughts were interrupted by a sudden, blinding flash of light in the sky. Shielding his eyes, Jake looked up to see the unmistakable glow of an ancient ship descending from the heavens. The Ancients had returned. Dr. Simmons's heart soared as the communication team confirmed receipt of a response from the Ancients. "They're coming," she whispered, tears of relief streaming down her face. "They're coming to help us." The ancient ships, with their sleek, crystalline structures and radiant energy fields, engaged the Ravager fleet with a ferocity that matched the invaders' own. Energy beams and plasma blasts lit up the sky as the two advanced races clashed in a battle for the fate of Earth. On the ground, the arrival of the ancients reinvigorated the beleaguered defenders. Soldiers rallied, their spirits lifted by the sight of their powerful allies. Private Jake Lawson, now reunited with his unit, fought with renewed determination. "We're not alone," he shouted to his comrades. "We can do this." As the battle raged on, Dr. Simmons and General Cole coordinated with the ancient leaders, devising strategies to exploit the Ravagers' weaknesses. The combined forces of humanity and their ancient allies began to turn the tide, pushing the invaders back and reclaiming lost ground. The first victory in what would be a long and grueling war had been won, but the cost was high. The battle for Earth was far from over, and the road ahead would be fraught with challenges. Yet, for the first time since the invasion began, there was a glimmer of hope. Dr. Simmons and General Cole stood side by side, watching the battlefield from the command center. "This is just the beginning," General Cole said, his voice resolute. "With the ancients by our side, we have a fighting chance." Dr. Simmons nodded, her eyes filled with determination. "We will fight, we will endure, and we will prevail. For the future of humanity." The alliance between humans and ancients had been rekindled, and together, they prepared to face the trials that lay ahead. The battle for Earth continued, but now they stood united against the darkness, ready to defend their home at all costs. Despite the ancients' return and the initial success in pushing back the Ravagers, the situation remained dire. The invaders were relentless, their numbers seemingly endless, and their tactics growing more ruthless by the day. Every victory came at a high cost, and the strain on Earth's defenders was beginning to show. Dr. Laura Simmons and General Marcus Cole worked around the clock, coordinating efforts from their fortified command center. The ancients' technology had given them a fighting chance, but it was clear that this war would not be won easily. In a dimly lit conference room, Dr. Simmons and General Cole met with the ancient leaders, including Zorith. The holographic map in the center of the table displayed the current state of the battlefield, with red markers indicating areas of intense conflict. "We're holding them off for now," General Cole said, his voice weary but determined. "But our resources are dwindling and our soldiers are exhausted." Zorith, his features etched with concern, responded, "The Ravagers are unlike any enemy you have faced before. They thrive on chaos and destruction. We must find a way to outsmart them, to strike at their heart." Dr. Simmons nodded, her mind racing with possibilities. "We need to understand their strategy, their weaknesses. There must be something we're missing." As the meeting continued, a sense of urgency filled the room. The battle for Earth was reaching a critical juncture, and the Allied forces needed a breakthrough to turn the tide definitively. Meanwhile, on the front lines, Private Jake Lawson and his unit fought desperately to hold their position. The Ravagers' ground troops, massive and heavily armored, advanced with terrifying speed and precision. The human and ancient soldiers, despite their combined efforts, struggled to keep the enemy at bay. "Hold the line," Jake shouted, his voice barely audible over the din of battle. He fired his weapon, a fusion of human and ancient technology, at an approaching Ravager. The creature fell, but another quickly took its place. The ground shook as explosions erupted nearby, sending debris and dust into the air. Jake's heart pounded in his chest as he ducked behind cover, reloading his weapon. The situation was dire, and he knew that they couldn't hold out much longer without reinforcements. Back at the command center, Dr. Simmons and General Cole received a distress call from Jake's unit. "We're pinned down. We need immediate support." Jake's voice crackled through the comms, filled with urgency. General Cole clenched his jaw, his eyes narrowing as he assessed the situation. "We can't afford to lose that position. Send reinforcements and air support immediately." As the orders were relayed, Dr. Simmons turned to Zorith. "We need to find a way to disrupt their command structure. If we can take out their leaders, we might have a chance to turn this around." Zorith nodded, his mind working quickly. "Our scouts have identified several key figures among the Ravagers. If we can eliminate them, it could cause enough chaos to give us the upper hand." With a plan in place, the Allied forces prepared for a daring mission to strike at the heart of the Ravager leadership. Elite units were assembled, comprising both human and ancient soldiers, each equipped with the best technology available. As the operation commenced, Dr. Simmons and General Cole watched anxiously from the command center. The success of this mission could determine the fate of the war. In the midst of the chaos, Private Jake Lawson and his unit continued to fight with everything they had. The reinforcements arrived just in time, providing much-needed support and bolstering their defenses. But the battle was far from over. Jake's eyes scanned the battlefield, taking in the devastation and the relentless advance of the Ravagers. He knew that they were fighting for their very survival, and the thought of failure was unbearable. "Hold strong, everyone," he called out, his voice filled with determination. "We can't let them break through. We have to give Dr. Simmons and General Cole the time they need." The battle raged on, the outcome uncertain. But in the hearts of Earth's defenders, there was a spark of hope. They had faced impossible odds before and emerged victorious. With the ancients by their side and a plan to disrupt the enemy's command, they were ready to fight for their future. As night fell over the war-torn landscape, the Allied forces prepared for the next phase of the conflict. The mission to strike at the Ravager leadership would be their most daring and dangerous yet, but it was a risk they had to take. Dr. Simmons and General Cole exchanged a determined glance. The stakes had never been higher, but they were ready to do whatever it took to protect their world and ensure the survival of humanity. The tension in the command center was palpable as Dr. Laura Simmons, General Marcus Cole, and Zorith monitored the progress of the strike teams. The mission to eliminate key Ravager leaders was underway, but the outcome remained uncertain. Failure was not an option. The fate of Earth depended on their success. The strike teams moved with precision, navigating through the war-torn landscape under the cover of darkness. Advanced reconnaissance drones, provided by the Ancients, scouted ahead, mapping out enemy positions and identifying high-value targets. The Ravager encampments were heavily fortified, their leaders well protected within a labyrinth of defensive structures. General Cole's voice crackled over the comms, issuing final instructions. "Remember, our primary objective is to disrupt their command structure. Take out their leaders and create as much chaos as possible. Stay focused, and may luck be on our side." Private Jake Lawson and his unit, part of one of the elite strike teams, approached their target, a Ravager command post nestled in the ruins of a once grand skyscraper. The atmosphere was tense, the air filled with the distant sounds of battle and the occasional roar of a Ravager beast. As they moved closer, Jake signaled for his team to halt. "We're almost there. Stay sharp and follow the plan. We hit them hard and fast." With practiced efficiency, the team deployed their charges, setting up a series of explosive traps designed to breach the command post's defenses. The countdown began, and they took cover, bracing for the impending blast. The explosion rocked the ground, sending shockwaves through the building and creating a breach in the Ravager defenses. Jake and his team stormed the command post, their weapons blazing. The Ravagers, caught off guard, scrambled to mount a defense, but the strike team pressed their advantage. In the chaos, Jake spotted their primary target, a high-ranking Ravager leader issuing commands from a makeshift command center. With a determined shout, he led the charge, cutting through the Ravager soldiers to reach their leader. The confrontation was fierce, but the elite training and advanced weaponry of the strike team gave them the upper hand. The Ravager leader fell, and with their command structure disrupted, the enemy forces in the area descended into disarray. "Command posts secured," Jake reported, his voice filled with a mix of relief and exhaustion. "We got their leader. Moving to extraction point now." Similar reports came in from other strike teams across the battlefield. The coordinated attacks had achieved their objective, sowing chaos within the Ravager ranks and buying the Allied forces precious time. Back at the command center, Dr. Simmons and General Cole allowed themselves a moment of relief. "It's working," Dr. Simmons said, her eyes reflecting a glimmer of hope. "We've disrupted their chain of command. This could be the turning point we needed." However, their relief was short-lived. As the strike teams made their way back to friendly lines, the Ravagers launched a desperate counteroffensive. Their forces, driven by rage and desperation, struck back with a ferocity that caught the Allies off guard. General Cole's expression hardened as he assessed the situation. "We need to reinforce our lines and support the strike teams. Get me a secure line to Zorth." Zorth's calm voice came over the comms. "General, we have identified a significant buildup of Ravager forces near your location. We will deploy our aerial support to provide cover for your retreat." As ancient ships soared overhead, their energy weapons cutting through the Ravager forces, the strike teams fought their way back to safety. The battle raged on, but the Allied forces held their ground, their spirits buoyed by the success of their daring mission. In the midst of the chaos, Dr. Simmons received an unexpected transmission. The signal was faint, barely discernible amidst the noise of battle, but it carried a message of hope. "Dr. Simmons, this is Anara. We have returned." Dr. Simmons's heart skipped a beat. Anara, one of the ancient leaders who had initially departed Earth, had come back with reinforcements. The Ancients' return brought with it the promise of renewed strength and a chance to turn the tide of the war. "Anara, your timing couldn't be better," Dr. Simmons replied, her voice filled with gratitude. "We need all the help we can get." As the reinforcements arrived, the Allied forces launched a coordinated counterattack, pushing the Ravagers back and reclaiming lost ground. The combined might of humans and ancients, united in their struggle, began to turn the tide. General Cole, standing beside Dr. Simmons, watched the battle unfold with a sense of renewed determination. "This is our chance, Laura. We can win this." Dr. Simmons nodded, her eyes fixed on the horizon. "For the future of humanity and for the legacy of the ancients, we will fight. Together, we will prevail." As the sun rose over the battlefield, casting its light on the determined faces of Earth's defenders and their ancient allies, there was a renewed sense of hope. The battle was far from over, but with unity and resolve, they would face whatever challenges lay ahead. The arrival of the ancient reinforcements led by Anara bolstered the Allied forces, bringing a renewed sense of hope and determination. The Ancients' ships, sleek and powerful, engaged the Ravagers with a precision that turned the tide of battle. The once unstoppable enemy found themselves on the defensive as the combined might of humans and ancients pressed forward. In the command center, Dr. Laura Simmons and General Marcus Cole worked tirelessly to coordinate the efforts of the united front. Holographic displays showed real-time updates of the battlefield, highlighting areas where the enemy was weakening and where their forces needed reinforcement. "General, we've identified a critical weakness in the Ravagers' supply lines," Anara reported, her calm demeanor belying the intensity of the situation. "If we can sever their logistics, we can significantly diminish their combat effectiveness." General Cole nodded, quickly devising a plan. "We'll dispatch a strike team to target their supply routes." "Dr. Simmons, can you assist with the logistical planning?" Dr. Simmons, her eyes scanning the data, replied, "I'll coordinate with our ground forces to ensure they have the necessary support." "Let's make this happen." As the orders were issued, the Allied forces prepared for a coordinated strike against the Ravagers' supply lines. Elite units, comprised of both human and ancient soldiers, were deployed to key locations, each tasked with disrupting the enemy's logistics. Private Jake Lawson, now a seasoned veteran of the conflict, found himself leading one of these elite units. His team, equipped with advanced weaponry and support from the ancients, moved swiftly through the war-torn landscape, avoiding enemy patrols and setting up ambush points along the Ravagers' supply routes. The first engagement was swift and brutal. The Ravagers, caught off guard by the sudden assault, struggled to mount an effective defense. Explosions lit up the night sky as supply convoys were destroyed and enemy positions overrun. Jake's unit, working in perfect sync, executed their mission with precision, leaving chaos in their wake. "We've cut their supply line," Jake reported, his voice filled with a mix of exhaustion and triumph. Moving to the next target. Similar successes were reported from other strike teams, each contributing to the weakening of the Ravagers' war effort. The combined attacks created a ripple effect, disrupting the enemy's coordination and sowing confusion within their ranks. In the skies above, Ancient ships provided air support, their energy weapons decimating Ravager strongholds and providing cover for ground operations. The collaboration between humans and ancients reached new heights as they adapted to each other's tactics and strengths. At the command center, Dr. Simmons and General Cole monitored the progress, their faces reflecting the weight of the responsibility they bore. "We're making headway," General Cole remarked, his voice tinged with cautious optimism. "But we can't let our guard down. The Ravagers are known for their adaptability." Dr. Simmons nodded, her mind already racing with the next steps. "We need to maintain the pressure and capitalize on their disarray. Our next objective should be their communication hubs. If we can isolate their units, they'll be easier to defeat." As the battle raged on, the Allied forces pressed their advantage. Coordinated strikes targeted the Ravagers' communication infrastructure, severing lines of command and further fracturing their operational capabilities. The enemy, once an organized and relentless force, now found themselves scattered and vulnerable. On the ground, Jake and his team continued their relentless advance. Each victory brought them closer to their ultimate goal, the complete defeat of the Ravager forces. The camaraderie between the human and ancient soldiers grew stronger with each battle, their shared purpose forging bonds that transcended their differences. In a daring raid on a heavily fortified Ravager outpost, Jake's unit faced their toughest challenge yet. The enemy, aware of their approach, had fortified their positions and prepared for a fierce defense. The battle was intense, with casualties on both sides, but the resolve of the Allied forces never wavered. Using a combination of human ingenuity and ancient technology, Jake's unit breached the enemy defenses and neutralized the outpost's command center. The victory was hard-won, but it dealt a significant blow to the Ravagers' ability to coordinate their forces. As the dust settled, Jake looked around at his comrades, their faces weary but determined. "We've done it. One step closer to victory," he said, his voice filled with conviction. Back at the command center, the news of the successful raid brought a rare smile to General Cole's face. "Outstanding work. Let's keep up the momentum and drive them out of our world." Dr. Simmons, her eyes reflecting the hope that had been rekindled, added, "This is what unity can achieve. Together, we are unstoppable." As the Allied forces continued their relentless push, the Ravagers' grip on Earth weakened. The battle was far from over, but the tide had turned. With the ancients by their side and the spirit of humanity driving them forward, the defenders of Earth prepared for the final showdown that would determine the fate of their planet. The final battle for Earth loomed on the horizon. The united forces of humans and ancients had succeeded in weakening the Ravagers, but the enemy was far from defeated. With their supply lines severed and their communication hubs disrupted, the Ravagers were now cornered, but they fought with the desperation of a beast in its death throes. Dr. Laura Simmons, General Marcus Cole, and Anara stood together in the command center, reviewing the latest intelligence reports. The Ravagers had regrouped at their last stronghold, a massive fortress bristling with defenses. This would be the site of the final showdown. "This is it," General Cole said, his voice steady. "We take this fortress, and we break their hold on our planet." Anara nodded, her calm demeanor radiating confidence. "Our forces are ready. We will strike with precision and strength. This is the final push." Dr. Simmons, her face lined with determination, added, "We need to coordinate our efforts perfectly. Any mistake could cost us dearly." The Allied forces mobilized, preparing for the assault on the Ravager stronghold. Soldiers checked their weapons, pilots ran through final flight checks, and medics readied their supplies. The air was thick with anticipation and the understanding that this battle would decide the fate of humanity. Private Jake Lawson and his unit were among those preparing for the assault. Jake had become a symbol of resilience and bravery, his leadership and courage inspiring those around him. As he looked at the faces of his comrades, he knew that they were ready to give everything for this final battle. "We've fought hard to get here," Jake said, addressing his unit. "This is our moment. Let's show them what we're made of." The assault began at dawn. Allied ships, a combination of human and ancient designs, soared through the sky, unleashing a barrage of firepower on the Ravager fortress. The enemy's defenses responded in kind, filling the air with a deadly dance of lasers and explosions. On the ground, the combined forces advanced with relentless determination. Tanks rolled forward, infantry units moved with precision, and artillery rained destruction on the enemy positions. The ancients, with their advanced technology and strategic acumen, provided crucial support, their energy weapons cutting through the Ravager defenses. Jake's unit, tasked with breaching the fortress walls, moved swiftly and efficiently. Using charges and advanced breaching tools, they created an opening and stormed inside. The interior of the fortress was a labyrinth of corridors and chambers, each filled with enemy soldiers. The fighting was intense and brutal. Jake led his unit through the maze, their progress marked by fierce skirmishes and close-quarters combat. Every corner turned, every door breached, brought them closer to the heart of the fortress. In the skies above, dogfights raged as Allied pilots engaged Ravager fighters. The ancient ships, with their superior maneuverability and firepower, provided critical support, ensuring that the ground forces could advance without being overwhelmed from above. At the command center, Dr. Simmons and General Cole coordinated the assault, their eyes glued to the displays. "We're making progress," General Cole reported. "But the enemy is throwing everything they have at us. We need to stay focused." Anara, monitoring the ancient forces, added, "Our ships are holding the line. The ground forces must reach the central command of the fortress. That's where the Ravager leader is." As Jake and his unit approached the central command, the resistance grew fiercer. The Ravagers, aware that their survival hinged on this battle, fought with a tenacity born of desperation. But the Allied forces pressed on, their resolve unbreakable. Finally, Jake and his team reached the central command chamber. The Ravager leader, a towering figure of menace and power, awaited them. The room was filled with advanced technology and displays showing the battlefield outside. "This ends now," Jake said, his voice filled with determination. "For Earth, for humanity." The final confrontation was a blur of action and energy. The Ravager leader unleashed a barrage of attacks, but Jake and his team, with their combined skills and advanced weaponry, fought back with equal ferocity. The battle reached its climax as Jake, in a final, desperate move, managed to land a critical blow, bringing the Ravager leader to the ground. As the Ravager leader fell, a ripple of confusion spread through the enemy ranks. With their command structure decimated, the remaining Ravager forces began to falter. The Allied forces seized the moment, launching a coordinated assault that broke the enemy's lines and sent them into full retreat. The fortress fell, and with it, the Ravagers' hold on Earth was shattered. The battle was over, but the cost had been high. The battlefield was littered with the fallen, both human and ancient, their sacrifices a testament to the price of freedom. Dr. Simmons and General Cole stood together, surveying the aftermath. "We did it," General Cole said, his voice heavy with emotion. "We won." Dr. Simmons nodded, tears in her eyes. "But we must never forget the cost. We must honor their memory by ensuring this never happens again." As the Allied forces began the arduous task of rebuilding, there was a sense of both triumph and sorrow. The victory had been hard-won, but it had secured a future for humanity, a future where the lessons of the past would guide them. The united front of humans and ancients had prevailed, and with their combined strength, they would face whatever challenges lay ahead. The battle for Earth had reached its climax, and the dawn of a new era had begun. The echoes of the final battle lingered in the air as Earth began to emerge from the shadow of war. The Ravager forces, now leaderless and in disarray, retreated to the far reaches of space, leaving behind a battered but resilient planet. The cost had been immense, but the combined efforts of humans and ancients had secured a hard-won peace. In the days following the battle, efforts to rebuild and heal commenced. Cities lay in ruins, but the spirit of humanity remained unbroken. Across the globe, people worked together to restore what had been lost, their resolve strengthened by the sacrifices made in the name of freedom. At the heart of these efforts were Dr. Laura Simmons and General Marcus Cole. The command center, once a hive of strategic planning and military coordination, now served as a hub for reconstruction efforts. Holographic displays that had shown the horrors of war now mapped out plans for rebuilding and recovery. "We have a long road ahead," General Cole remarked, his voice tinged with both weariness and hope. "But we've proven that we can overcome anything when we stand united." Dr. Simmons, reviewing plans for a new scientific research facility, nodded in agreement. "The ancients have given us so much. Their knowledge and technology will help us rebuild stronger and more resilient than before." Amidst the rebuilding efforts, a ceremony was held to honor the fallen. Soldiers and civilians alike gathered to pay their respects, their faces reflecting the profound impact of the conflict. Monuments were erected to commemorate those who had given their lives, ensuring that their sacrifices would never be forgotten. As the ceremony concluded, Anara approached Dr. Simmons and General Cole. "We must speak about the future," she said, her voice serene yet resolute. In a private meeting, Anara revealed the ancients' decision. "We have done what we came here to do. You are now prepared to face the challenges that lie ahead. It is time for us to leave and continue our journey through the cosmos." Dr. Simmons's heart sank at the thought of losing their allies, but she understood the ancients' reasons. "We will miss you, Anara. You've become an integral part of our world." General Cole, his expression reflecting a mix of gratitude and sadness, added, "Your guidance and support have been invaluable. We couldn't have won this war without you." Anara smiled, her eyes reflecting the wisdom of ages. "Our journey may take us far from here, but we will always be connected. Remember the lessons we have shared and the strength that comes from unity." As the ancients prepared to depart, the global community gathered to bid them farewell. The skies once again filled with the radiant glow of ancient ships, a sight that now brought hope rather than fear. People from all walks of life watched as their allies ascended into the heavens, their ships vanishing into the vastness of space. Dr. Simmons stood with General Cole, her eyes fixed on the sky. "They've given us so much. Now it's up to us to honor their legacy." General Cole nodded, his gaze unwavering. "We'll build a future worthy of their sacrifice. Together, we will face whatever comes our way." As the days turned into weeks, the process of rebuilding gained momentum. The scars of war began to heal, and a new sense of purpose emerged. The collaboration between human and ancient technology sparked innovations that propelled society forward, creating a world that was stronger and more united than ever before. Dr. Simmons and General Cole, now celebrated as heroes, continued their work with unwavering dedication. Their partnership, forged in the crucible of war, became a symbol of what humanity could achieve through cooperation and determination. As they stood on the steps of a newly constructed research facility, Dr. Simmons reflected on the journey that had brought them here. "We've come so far, Marcus. And yet, this is just the beginning." General Cole smiled, his eyes filled with pride. "The future is ours to shape. Let's make it a future where unity and resilience are our greatest strengths." With the ancients' legacy as their guide, humanity faced the future with confidence and hope. The battle for Earth had ended, but the lessons learned and the bonds forged would endure. Together, they were ready to embrace whatever challenges lay ahead, secure in the knowledge that they had the strength and unity to overcome anything. Thank you for joining us on this epic journey through Echoes of the Past, The Last Stand. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and ring the bell so you never miss an adventure from the Sci-Fi Story Vault. Dive deeper into the universe of our stories and explore the resilience, ingenuity, and courage of humanity against all odds. For more epic sci-fi tales, click on the suggested video on your screen and continue the adventure with another gripping story from our channel. Your next thrilling journey awaits.